Steve Neighbor. It's recording now. So thanks everybody. And I do want to take a pause just quick to again thank Brett Vandeloon, doing a great job and stepping up and being the chair for the past couple of years. Really appreciate that, Brett. So thank you. So big thanks to him. So here we are, March 3rd, Transportation Technical Committee for Des Moines Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. Let's call this technical meeting to order. And I'm looking for, thank you, Tracy, for posting the agenda. And can I get looking for an approval of the agenda? Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Motion to approve the agenda, Huesman.
Thank you. Get a second?
Second, Davis.
Thank you. Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded. And again, for those that are new, maybe new, since we are doing the meeting online here, we're not going to have everyone unmute and say aye. We're just going to ask if anyone is opposed to approve. So is anyone opposed to the approval? Hearing none, we'll consider that approved. Okay. And thank you again, Tracy. Item 3 for getting the meeting minutes published and posted. They're posted on the website and also have been attached to the packet as well. Do we have a motion? I'm looking for approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion and a second, please, for those minutes? Or if there are any changes, please speak up.
Motion to approve the minutes, Huesman.
Thank you.
Terms, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and approval and a second. Is there any discussion? Anyone opposed? Hearing none, we'll consider the approval of the meeting minutes. Okay, item 4 is a report and vote on the fiscal year 2023 Unified Planning Work Program and Budget Development. And I'm going to turn that over to Dylan. Dylan?
All right, thank you. As we've talked to you about over the last couple of months, we've been working on the work program for the fiscal year that'll start in July, so FY 2023. This is one of our major things we do that really outlines all the activities that are going to take place and kind of tells the Iowa DOT and the US DOT what we're going to do with the planning funding, the federal planning funding that we receive. So it outlines all the activities, the costs associated with those, any consultant costs that go into that, staff costs, equipment, all that kind of fun stuff. So we're required to approve a draft in March so we can get it in by the April 1st draft deadline. Iowa DOT, Federal Highway, Federal Transit, take a look at that, provide any comments, and then we come back in May for a final. So what you're going to see and what was in the agenda packet is just a draft. There's still time to make changes or add activities and so forth, but we do need to approve the draft today. There's a couple of planning emphasis areas that Federal Highway and Federal Transit outlined for this calendar year. And those are up there on the screen. I won't go through all those, but there are things that we're probably going to do already. So nothing really different that we had to change in the work program beyond what we were already going to do, but just something to note. And if there's more detail that comes out of what's required for these, we would have to address that, but I think we'll probably be okay. We've been talking about this for the last couple of months with the tech committee and with other groups, and we've been asking for projects and ideas, soliciting anything that our members want to see us do over the next fiscal year. And up on the screen, there are just some projects of note. If you look through the full document that's in the agenda packet or that was linked in the agenda packet, you'll see everything. But these are just a couple of things that are either bigger projects or more unique type of things that we just wanted to point out. And I won't go through all of these in great detail, but just touch on a couple of them. The passenger transportation plan is something that we're required to do. It's one of our federal things that we have to do. And it's required every 5 years. So we're coming up on that 5th year. About this time next year is when that plan is due. And this is more of a human service public transportation coordination effort. So looking at transportation needs of elderly individuals, people with disabilities, low-income individuals, things of that nature, and just how all those human service agencies address those transportation challenges. The Interconnect plan is an update to the Connect plan, which is our bike ped plan that was done about 10 years ago. So it's overdue for an update, and that is underway now, and it will continue on and be completed early in next fiscal year. Through Capital Crossroads, there's been some talk of looking at parking analysis and evaluation of parking regulations, and they've asked that the MPO help with that, just given our nature in looking at transportation. So that's something that we haven't fleshed that out entirely yet, but something we'll start looking at early next year, next fiscal year. The new transportation bill, the Investment Infrastructure and Jobs Act, has a lot of new programs, has new funding, has new requirements. So we'll be working as more rulemaking comes out and more information is available about that act to figure out what we need to do as an MPO locally to implement that kind of thing. So that's another big project. Trail pavement, we've been doing the data bike project for the last couple of years. We're looking now to pivot and do more forecasting of the data we're collecting, similar to what we do on the roadway system. Moving on down, the next, we've talked a little bit about doing more climate related work. So we just joined ICLEI a couple of months ago. So now a few communities are looking at assistance with greenhouse gas inventories and other climate related things. So that's going to be an emphasis area for us too. Hard to believe, but it's almost time to start working on our next long range plan update. So there'll be some of that earlier, background type of work, possibly getting into the growth scenario this next fiscal year, as well as all that data collection and that kind of stuff. And then the last one there was a project suggested by West Des Moines, which is looking at regional corridors, some of those major ones, the beltways and the connectors and some of those things that are more in the outskirts of the region that have been studied off and on over the years. But looking at them from a corridor preservation standpoint, so that by the time, if and when it is time to develop some of those corridors, that there's not housing developments or something that's popped up in the way. So really making sure everybody's on the same page of what is in the plans, what's been planned so far, what's been studied so far, the status of those, and just kind of having one place to know all that information so that we can all be on the same page as far as land use and preservation, that kind of thing. We're still soliciting projects. So like I said, this is just a draft. So if you still have activities, ideas, things that you want us to consider, please let us know and we'll make sure to incorporate that as we move forward. Touch on just a couple additional things. We don't get into the budget aspects too much with the tech committee because we leave that to the policy folks, but a couple of things to note, just because you'll probably be seeing this. In that infrastructure bill, there was a pretty large increase in planning funding for, that would start next fiscal year, about 215,000 above and beyond what we're getting right now. So that, in conjunction with a couple other contracts that we're working on, will lead to some additional staffing is kind of what we're getting into. So in addition to that, the DOT funding, MIPA, the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance for Community Development, which you've probably heard about, there's an agreement we're working on it, but everyone's kind of in favor of this. We haven't signed the document yet, but that the MPO will house the MIPA planner and provide additional staff support above and beyond what that MIPA employee can do on their own. So that's one thing, and that'll be a big contract that the MPO will enter into. We also have contracts with housing trust funds, the Central Iowa Housing Trust Fund and the Story County Housing Trust Fund. We're starting to hear of additional needs from those trust funds and possibly other trust funds wanting to contract with us as well. And all that's leading to additional staffing potential needs too. So what we're looking at is hiring that MIPA individual, and that would be a MIPA employee essentially. The MPO would just provide some of the office space and contract for back-end support for that. Hiring a housing planner as well. Neither of those positions would use any of the MPO funds, the MPO assessments or DOT funding for that. But then because our contracting is getting a little more complex, we're getting a little more funding coming in. We've got, we just completed kind of wrapping up the build grant for transload. We're starting on the build grant for water trails. So just getting a little more complex there is hiring a finance, whether it's finance officer, finance director, some sort of finance related position at the MPO to help with all of that kind of thing. So we're looking at hiring 3 potential new people that you might see around the office housed at the MPO in the coming months. So that's also something that is reflected in the work program and in the budget side of things more so than others. So with all that, that's all I have for this. If there's any questions or, like I said, anything else you want to see in the draft going forward, please let us know. Otherwise, we ask for your approval on the draft to get that off to the Iowa DOT.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. As Dylan mentioned, we are looking for approval so they can get that draft sent off. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Montoya, I'll move it.
Second, Caster.
Okay, it's been motion and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, hearing none, we'll consider that motion approved. So next, we have a report on the federal fiscal year 2023 through 2026 Transportation Improvement Program development. I'm going to turn that one over to Andrew, please.
Yes, thank you. So next slide. This is that time of year where we begin the TIP development process here at the MPO. For this upcoming year, it'll be for the federal fiscal year 2023 through 2026 TIP. All MPO member governments and associated agencies will receive TIP project reports if you haven't already. So just to note on those that if you have a federally funded project or any project that is in the TIP that won't receive authorization to proceed by September 30th, you'll need to roll that project over to federal fiscal year 2023. And new projects, as well as changes to currently programmed projects as part of those TIP reports, are due back to the MPO by March 31st. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Okay, any questions for Andrew? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Andrew. We'll go to item 6 here. Item 6 is a report on the federal fiscal year 2024 through 2028 passenger transportation plan update. And that will be, I'll call on Allison, please.
Thank you. So as Dylan mentioned, over the next year, we'll be working on this update of the passenger transportation plan. It really does call for assessing what transportation and coordination needs are there for passenger transportation specifically. So this is not an alternative transportation plan. This is really for those who, for physical, legal, mental reasons, are not able to drive, and ensuring that they have mobility throughout our region. And just a reminder that this is a MPO and SERPTA document. So it really does encompass our whole 8-county region here. And we do emphasize the access to health and human services, as those are a lot of the agencies that help these folks get around. And through the Iowa DOT's requirements, we do run this through the transportation advisory groups. There are 2 in the metro, or 1 in the metro, and then 1 in the more rural areas in the HERDA region. And so they are going to be big pieces of this, and we'll have meetings with them throughout the year. Like Dylan said, this is updated every 5 years. And so we do have a draft due on February 1. In the last couple months, I've been meeting with DART and HERDA, and later on this month, we'll have our first steering committee meeting with the transportation advisory groups. So with that, just wanted to give you an update and make you aware of it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Thank you, Allison. Is there any questions for Allison? Okay, hearing none. We'll go to item 7. That's a report on greenhouse gas emissions inventory reports update. And again, we'll call on Allison. Thank you.
Yeah. It'll be me again. You can go to the next slide. So I just want to make you aware, obviously, January 2022, we officially became a regional affiliate member of ICLEI. And so over the last couple of months, I've been organizing all the different documents and spreadsheets and things like that that will need to go to our energy providers and other sectors that produce greenhouse gases in some way or another. So this had, we've made about 3 contacts so far. They have data sheets now and are starting to fill them out. Due to the large number of communities in the metro that we're collecting this data from, I do expect this to take about 2 or 3 months, just because the spreadsheets are quite thick. So please do bear with me as I bring those back in. But in the meantime, as those are out being filled in by those sectors, MPO staff is working on the individual community report content. So that'll include sustainability initiatives, climate impacts of, things that are going on in your community, and things like that. So you may hear from myself or one of our interns over the next couple months to discuss some of these things with you. We already have a decent catalog, but just want to obviously make sure that we're incorporating everything that we might not be aware of. And of course, with the ICLEI membership, we do have technical assistance. For right now, my staff time has been more focused on, getting these greenhouse gas reports and things like that ready to go and getting that data. But there is plenty of opportunity if your community does have a need and wants to somehow engage with ICLEI, please do contact me. I'm happy to set up some sort of regional webinar or start discussing those needs with you at any time. So just want to make you aware, and we will be requesting this content on behalf of the region, but each of the communities are noted in there. So if you get any questions, feel free to direct them back to me. And if you have any questions throughout the process, don't hesitate to reach out. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'd take them at this time.
Thank you, Allison. Any questions for Allison? Okay, thanks, Allison. Hearing none, we got go to item 8. It's a report on upcoming events, and Allison, I'm sure you're going to cover that one too.
Yep. So I'll close it out for us today. So usually we don't really bring the environment roundtable and other roundtable items as upcoming events, but there has been quite a bit of chatter about what are impacts, what will Iowa be dealing with, and what programs and things like that are out there. And so through the environment roundtable next week, we've put together a slate of really great speakers. Dr. Gene Tackley from Iowa State University helped write the IPCC reports over the last couple decades. He's probably one of the best climatologists in the state. So he'll be talking about the upcoming Iowa climate assessment. Some of your communities have already enrolled in the Resilient Iowa Communities program. Some might not be aware of it. So we'll be hearing from Cassie Sony at UNI. DART is participating in the Healthy Planet Challenge. They'll be getting an update there. And then the city of Ames is quite a bit further along in their climate process. And so we've invited them to kind of give an overview of how they've done, how they've completed all their work and what the goals and things like that are. So if you're interested, I know this, it isn't for everyone, but if you are, please reach out to me and I can get you the Zoom link. It is next Tuesday at 1 p.m. And we do expect it to take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. So next slide.
Allison,
Yeah.
just a heads up, I just wanted to share that the city of Des Moines is also working on their climate action plan. We had a kickoff meeting this week with a steering committee, and Brendel Group out of Denver, Colorado is our consultant with RDG. And so there'll be more information coming on that as we start doing some of our public outreach and events.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue. You all will hear from Jeremy Karen and that effort in May at these meetings in May. So we'll bring that back to you. Thanks for that, Mike.
All right, thanks.
Another one that was brought to our attention is growing transportation mobility for all. It is at the Iowa Event Center later on this summer when it's nice and warm. We just want to make you aware that there are early bird rates right now that are available, and it is for public and private, and there are different rates for each of those. Next slide. And then HERDA does a Beyond the Bus each year. That date this year is going to be April 26th. So go ahead and save that date. This year, they're really focusing on healthcare and the connections between health equity and what public transportation's role is in that. So I believe that's all of them. Yep. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Great, thank you, Allison. Any questions for Allison? Okay. Great. Thank you, Allison. Next, we'll go to item number 9, other non-action items of interest to the committee.
I just have one, Steve. I just wanted to congratulate Luis Montoya for his 40 under 40 designation. Congratulations, Luis.
Awesome. Congratulations, Luis. Well deserved. Excellent. Thank you, Todd. Okay. All right, that brings us to item 10. Our next meeting date is April 7th at 9:30 a.m. So that being said, we'll consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. So
thanks, everyone. Thanks, Steve.
thank you.